Hi, welcome to Attitude of Altitude, Mindset of Happiness weekly video series and podcast. My name is Floria, founder of Recognize Your Potential, and thank you so much for joining us today. And special thanks to our special guest, Lisa Weatherhead. Lisa, welcome back. Thank you for not leaving.
Thank you. My pleasure.
You may have watched the first segment. Lisa Weatherhead is a leader within the health and charitable sector in Nova Scotia, and also a wonderful friend. Thank you so much for taking the time on a busy day and in February to come and join me here today.
No place I'd rather be.
Thank you. I pay her really well to say that. Thanks so much. So at our first, in our first segment, we discussed a lot about your professional life, little bit about your volunteering, but a lot about professional life, and also leadership, the courage to be okay, to not be perfect, that none of us are, and to accept that, to accept and acknowledge that none of us are really perfect and don't have that expectation. We also discussed elements of leadership that were important to you, were self-awareness, communication, listening to understand rather than simply just to respond, and also bringing yourself to the table, your own voice, and that attitude of leadership, that leadership is far beyond a simple suit or a title. So, this segment, we're going to go a little bit deeper and a bit more about yourself, where you are in life, and you have run a half marathon.
Yeah, I've actually completed 6 half marathons. I ran 4 and walked 2, so I'm a semi-retired runner.
Fantastic.
Or shuffler. I'm a semi-retired shuffler. And now I stick to shorter distances. But yeah, it's the greatest stress relief that I've found. One of the greatest stress reliefs that I found. Might be oxygen deprivation, but it really is a great way to clear your head.
Nice, nice. I love walking, and I run when I feel like it, and I run like a kid.
Yeah.
So
run for joy.
Run for joy, and with joy, and I run, and if I see something that I want to stop, I will stop.
Yeah.
And then I will carry on again. And rather than saying, oh, I have to do this many kilometers or this distance, I just say, I'm running, oh, I'm walking. And then all of a sudden I get the urge to run, and I run. Or urge to stop, and I stop. So good on you for doing 6.
Yeah, yeah.
Wow. And you also are big sister.
Yes.
So you have volunteered. You have a little sister.
I do, yeah. She's a really cool 13-year-old who teaches me something new every time I see her. And a lot of times it's she teaches me patience and throws perfection out the window. But we have fun and we just do stuff. Yeah.
As I always say, when I'm with a kid, a nephew or niece or somebody, I get the license to be silly.
You told little sister, your license to be silly is it's tempered or metered a bit maybe by their embarrassment.
All right. So, and we've heard a lot about your mom, which was fantastic, how you have picked some very good habits, such as looking for the silver lining from mom.
Yep. If I bake, it needs a fast exit from my house to share. I practice yoga, and I have a number of incredible friend groups that that kind of keep me honest and keep me real. So I'm deliberate about making time to spend with them, because it's easy to just suddenly see someone once a year and think, oh my goodness, too much, we have to get together soon. Well, don't say you have to get together, just do it.
Okay, just do it. You know how much I love that saying. Just do it. Never mind trying, never do it.
Make it happen.
Make it happen, which is fantastic.
Yeah, my most recent career experience has been in the charitable sector and higher education and healthcare charities. And I'm in a bit of a transition right now and looking for the next great adventure, if you will. So really relying on some of that silver lining and positive thinking and positive motivation to plan and be a bit, it sounds so silly, but be a little bit strategic about what comes next and what I'm looking for.
Okay.
And I don't know the answer to what that is.
And that's not silly. That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
So sounds like you are practicing great leadership at this point.
It's leadership that, often I look at leadership as what you give out, but any sort of a loss or change, I find it most helpful to turn that leadership inside and really remind myself the advice that I would give other people and how I would treat other people.
That is the best example of leadership.
It's also probably the hardest one to practice that I found.
Yes, of course.
Yeah.
It's easier to give advice to others than to receive one from ourselves.
Yeah, the audience that is the most critical is the one you see when you look in the mirror.
That's right, definitely. Congratulate you for being so courageous. I had invited you to come and speak and be on the podcast and video. That was more than 6 months ago. And to call me after, during your transition, takes a lot of courage, Lisa.
I look at it from 2 points of view. It's kind of at a point when maybe I'm a little more vulnerable than, when you're in a time of change. But it's also this really great gift to get this stuff that has carried over from to-do list, contact Floria with times, to-do list for 6 months. So it's looking for, that was kind of a neat gift of time.
Good. And it is fantastic. Obviously, you were definitely practicing this silver lining.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a really neat opportunity.
How, what are you doing during this time? How are you making it work for you and strategically leading this time?
Well, Netflix is the obvious option.
Ha!
But it's treating your time like it's yours. And if you had the one thing that is the most precious in time, what would you do with it? So really looking at it as, it's an opportunity to work out and not feel like you're in a rush, and to connect with some really great people, and to look at we talked before about kind of your values and what you're looking for. So to look at that and to do some things that you enjoy. Maybe it's, people, it's an opportunity to have some fun that you don't usually get as an adult, to have that time. Yeah.
Fun. And it's so refreshing to hear someone going through period of change and not panicking.
Oh, there's plenty of panic. On about a 6-minute cycle, I panic about silly things sometimes, and sometimes about things that maybe are a little bit more significant. But it's keeping it in, I don't know if it's even keeping it in check, but it's acknowledging it and understanding that, okay, well, that's something that I should panic about. it's almost keeping a to-do list of 2 panics. And if it's still a concern, then deal with it. But yeah, if my method to look at any change is to look at, okay, there's plenty of time to panic, but at the same time, do something that you like, or get busy, or try something different, or just shift your mindset. And sometimes that mindset means that you look at yourself in the mirror and you give yourself, the positive self-talk, or you give yourself a pep talk. And it's, again, sometimes people are like, yeah, everybody does that. I've said that before myself, like, yes, of course, you need to do that. But why not give it a try? Because it might just be the thing that shifts your mindset and gets you thinking in a different direction and broadens your thinking. And you can look at a full spectrum of things that you want to do.
That is awesome, that you are actually not just saying it, you are practicing it.
Yeah.
So you are practicing positive self-talk.
Yeah.
And affirmations?
Yeah, it's, it is looking for, you have a choice in what you see. You can look at all of the, you can watch CNN and you can watch a news channel pass you by, and yes, that's important, stay in touch. But it doesn't mean you need to get stuck there, and it doesn't mean you need to get stuck in the news that gets you frustrated or irritated or down. You have a choice to shift your own channel and look for the positive, and look for the pieces that you're grateful for in the experience that you're walking away from, so you can take that into the experience that you're walking toward.
I could not have paid her enough to say it this way, okay? Could not have, because what you are practicing and living is what I talk about, as you know, consistently in every aspect. And seeing you, hearing you, share how you are practicing and living that right now is fantastic. I'm so excited.
And you look for, everybody goes through change in their life, whether it's personal, professional, whatever that is. But it's just, you do have the choice.
And you are making great choices.
We'll see. That remains to be seen.
No, honestly, you are making great choices right here, right now, because you are being active and doing yoga and taking time for yourself, acknowledging fears when they happen, or those emotions, and then moving on and practicing that positive self-talk, giving yourself the power to change the channel.
Yeah. It's not always easy, but it's always worth it.
Not always easy, but always worth it. Very well said. That it is possible, and you are practicing it, and you are now looking for new adventures and opportunities.
Yeah.
And you're still planning on staying within the not-for-profit organization, charitable organizations?
Sure. I guess that's the other thing that I'm learning is, or realizing is, often we look at what we do or what we've done and look at that as our only possibility. But if I hadn't looked at other possibilities when I left the corporate and sales and training sector, I would never have had this really neat opportunity to explore a whole new career path. So I don't think that there's, I don't know that it is a matter of saying I must stay in this path, or I must do this, or I absolutely want to make a change. Who knows?
Okay. I like that.
Yeah.
Keeping your options open.
Absolutely.
And embracing challenges.
Yeah.
To find opportunities.
Yeah. And I think what that brings when you land, when the earthquake ends and your feet hit the ground and you're solid again, what that brings to your next team or your next employer or your next whatever it looks like is, I feel it brings a little bit more of a whole person to
Yes.
the table, who has been thoughtful and about what they're doing.
Definitely, because anyone, regardless of what sector they're in, any employer would be fortunate to have this kind of a leader to come in at any level of their in their organization to be part of that team or to overtake a part of it or a department, because best employees are those who actually take charge of their own career.
It's what, as a person who has done hiring in the past or been a part of hiring, it's something that you look at, or something that I've considered. And I think, when you think about employee engagement versus just employee happiness or satisfaction, that gives a person a solid ground to work from. And I say that completely, unresearched, but just my own experience would say that gives somebody a more, I don't know, holistic is the word, but it gives somebody a nice grounding, and they've made a decision versus just grabbed onto something.
Yeah.
So I don't know if there's things that people say. I don't think anyone says or offers guidance or advice to be unhelpful. Sometimes they don't have the full picture, but I don't put a lot of thought into the unhelpful, because everybody does come with their own perceptions and their own experiences, so it's important. But for
Advice.
a lot of people have great advice, yeah.
And some not so great?
Yeah, there's always some that you're always going to get advice that isn't as helpful to you in your situation. Yeah.
Because that's something to remember, that everyone gives advice based on their own experiences.
Yes.
From where they're standing.
Yeah.
They mean well.
Yes. Yeah, and I think that they mean well, and nobody offers that advice or that part of themselves without them feeling like it's being supportive. So I really appreciate that, that people do. I guess more than anything, it's just appreciating the fact that people reach out and that they make that connection, and that they do, all too often you hear something, or you hear that somebody's going through a change or has, had a personal loss, and you think, ooh, I better not reach out right now, or it might not be the right time. But my personal opinion is it ever wrong to make a connection, whether it's during a time of change or whether it's just because it's Wednesday?
Okay, so make a connection.
Yeah.
So how do you stay balanced?
I don't know. Balance is a funny thing.
Or aligned.
Aligned, yeah. Focusing on what's good, or focusing on the positive lessons. Having that opportunity to consider, not just to consider what you're good at, and to think, okay, well, what if I could do every day only the things that I'm good at? What would that look like? And I don't know the answer to that fully, but looking at what you're good at, looking at what you'd like to get good at, or what you'd like to learn more about, and just keeping a really kind of a broad picture, or having a canvas that's waiting to be filled, rather than thinking, oh, I must do this, or I must do that. So really just keeping an open mind, because sometimes the greatest ideas are the craziest ones that you just haven't thought about yet.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The quackiest idea.
Oh, yes.
Can be the most rewarding.
Yeah. And sometimes that's the scariest part of it, is that I find that I need to kind of let my mind wander a little bit, and it's scary to think that you're not going to be doing the exact same thing today as you did yesterday. But it's also kind of an exciting, it's the anticipation of the next thing or the next best thing is really neat. Mm-hmm. I just think that I don't know what it's going to look like when my feet hit the ground, but they'll be wearing great shoes. So
I love that.
It's just a matter of, and also being a little kinder to yourself. It's really, really, and it's almost like this comfortable little yucky spot where you kind of get in the poor me's or the yeah, but what if. So it really is being a little bit kinder and acknowledging that, but not spending your time there.
Okay.
Through a range of emotions.
Okay.
But I don't really, and I don't know if it's that I just don't let myself spend a lot of time in anger zone. Mm-hmm. Maybe sometimes my kickboxing classes are a little bit more fulfilling at the end of the day, but at the end of the class. But no, it's not. There's nothing. It could be. I could go there, but it doesn't serve me the purpose that I need in my life at any point. Like I don't spend a lot of time in that zone.
So not for long term, it doesn't serve any purpose.
No, I mean I think it's important to you kind of have to. A really great mentor of mine one time said, "Look, you can't go around it, you can't go under it, you can't go over it. You have to go through it. So you have to experience that." Or I feel I have to experience that, but it's just not where I choose to stay. Mm-hmm.
That's right.
Yeah.
You can walk really fast through it.
Yeah, yeah, and you feel it, and you kind of, but there's a new feeling or a new emotion that's not far. Just like it's easy to be a coach of the best basketball team in the world when you're sitting in your armchair at home. It's easy.
Yes.
It's so much better. But that judgment, I just find that it doesn't. Who gave me that right to judge that person? Or that situation, or that whatever it looks like. It's not mine to judge, so there's no gain in it for me. And sure, you go through the stage where, again, you kind of have every emotion cycles through in 6-minute intervals. But it doesn't give me, when I walk away from the judgment, it doesn't give me any joy. It doesn't give me anything useful to go forward. So it's kind of like putting the wrong ingredient in that recipe.
Mm-hmm. Well put. And all of this being said at a time that you are going through the change. Because it's easy when we are the basketball team that's winning to say these things.
Yes, it's very easy, and it's so, it's almost dismissive.
Yes.
Yeah.
Whereas when you are going through this period of transition, then it's different.
Yeah, it's very different. Yeah, and I mean one of the things that I really choose to focus on is gratitude and looking at the good in, looking at the good in the situation that's passed and how that's changed me. And the lesson that I take away from that is, okay, if I'm on the other side of that conversation at some point, how will I say something differently, or how will I handle that conversation differently? Because that's really the only thing that I can control in that. I can't control what other people think or say or do or whatever.
Very well put, very well said and practiced, because putting yourself, and I always remind myself that by knowing what I don't want, it's much easier to figure out what I do want. Yeah,
sometimes it's the best the best management experience you get is by not doing what you didn't enjoy or what you didn't feel to be productive.
Yes. I was at an event a couple of days ago, and there was a speaker, and the speaker was saying that every time, and as she was sharing some of her challenge and what she had done throughout the years and how she had got through. And she said anytime that she didn't like a circumstance, she knew that was her stepping stone to wanting better.
Yeah. And it's really true. It's almost like all of a sudden that becomes a part of that thread becomes part of your fabric, and you just think, well, that's not something that I'll do or say or think, and I guess it's a do or say, but it's not something that I'll even allow to let myself go down that road of thinking it. And I mean, really, this is over a lifetime of experiences. It's not something that happens in a period of time that you say, you don't develop your values on a Wednesday. You don't just say, oh, it's, this is part of my values. It's something that you just learn. And it's usually, my thought is, it's something that you see repetitively. It's not something you see once. It's not one experience. It's observations that you make or experiences that you have over your
practicing gratitude. Music to my ears. You all know how much I love that. And like even this morning, I wrote 6 pages.
Mm-hmm.
I got up, I was so excited for our podcast. I got up really early, went to the gym and meditated, and then wrote 6 pages. I was so excited.
That's fantastic. That's impressive.
And so that's why I was walking on air when I was coming here.
Yeah.
As I was walking here, I was literally walking on air because I was so excited and enthusiastic. So you're practicing gratitude.
Mm-hmm. It doesn't even feel like practicing it. It just feels like, because it's, once you practice it, it becomes what you do. It becomes who you are, and it doesn't feel like a tremendous effort to look at that. And it doesn't, like, it's with everything. It's with what happens on a day-to-day basis. It's the choices that you make every day. Like last night, one of the things I was grateful for today is that I decided to go to a cooking class, and it was just so great, but I kind of didn't feel like it. But it's just looking at the little things. It's not, a lot of times it's not that giant change or that giant transition that's so important. It's the little stuff inside of it.
It is. And it's never an effort. And making sure that I have the time, that's important. But I do that because I'm really addicted to feeling good. And I said to somebody, I'm addicted to happiness.
Yeah.
And they looked at me and they said, well, it could be worse things. I said, yeah, I know. Because it feels so good. And some of the things I was writing this morning, I was writing how much I really look forward to taking a nice long shower. Mm-hmm. And I stood few extra minutes and just allowed that hot water, hot shower.
Isn't it a great, this happened the other day, I thought, what a great gift that I have 5 extra minutes for a nice hot shower.
Yes.
Or to have, it's just, what a great gift.
It is. And I was also writing that how I appreciated the fact that in a couple of weeks ago, I bought new organizers for my drawers so that I can get them organized. And now when I opened, I say, isn't that nice?
It's just so nice. Yeah, it's the littlest things.
It is.
Yeah.
And it gives you so much joy.
It really does. And for me, sometimes it's taking a moment to appreciate the things that are closest to you, appreciating the fact that, your partner walked the dog, or whatever that looks like, or that he did something that was nice, or shoveled the driveway with perfection that I've never observed before. Like it's little things, but it's just taking the second to do it and appreciate it. And if I hadn't done that, if I hadn't practiced that all along for years, I think it would be a more difficult, when you face transition, whether it's, a personal loss, maybe you lose a family member, if you haven't practiced that, you don't have that stuff to fall back on to kind of make things, to find those silver linings.
Yes. No, it's very clear that you have been practicing it for a long time. You didn't just start yesterday to say, okay, I'm going to start looking for silver linings. There are no silver linings.
Yeah, no, it's hard. It would be hard to do unless you had that sort of toolbox of stuff that you've already been looking for the good.
Mm-hmm. So you are doing that, which is fantastic, and you're also keeping in shape and keeping active.
Yeah.
Because all of that are part of it.
Yeah, it's kind of that whole, mind, body, soul piece. It's just looking after. You can't pick one.
Yeah. So how is looking for the silver lining and gratitude helping with that shift in mindset that you spoke about earlier?
It's to me, it's the only option. It is, and that's kind of who I am. But it helps you to be more. For me, it helps me to be more open to new ideas, to new conversations, to being more clear about what I want, what I'm looking for, my own worth. So it helps to create a clarity when you have those pieces together, and when you're looking at the opportunity to have a shift of some sort.
Yeah. So you are practicing all the things that you have been knowing.
Yes.
And now you are practicing them more and more every day.
Yes, and it doesn't even feel like
or
like effort. It doesn't feel like you have to work at it. It just kind of becomes an invaluable piece.
To believe in yourself.
Yeah, that's a tricky one. I have that takes a little more practice, but
hey, we all practice that one. I think it's long term.
It is, and that's where having those groups or networks of friends and people to, there's, no matter what your situation, you're always going to have days when you need someone else to believe in you so that you can do it. You need to borrow that belief from them a bit.
But at the same time, you can only rely on borrowed stuff for so long.
Yeah, you eventually need to keep that.
Yes, because you can only go and borrow sugar from the neighbor so often.
It's true, yeah.
Soon they're going to say, go buy your own.
Yeah, and that is true. And take advantage of it when it's right there in front of you, and you need to lean into it. You need to borrow that belief, but eventually you do need to accept it as your own.
Okay.
Yeah.
How do you keep practicing that, believing in yourself?
Sometimes I just need to tell myself that I have to, and that there's no other option. And everybody's different. For me, it really is just, I know I need to. And looking for those times, like to get an infusion of positivity from someone else, and knowing when you need to reach out to somebody to give you that little bit of prop up that you need. And that doesn't mean you need to call them and say, you need to believe in me right now. It just means you need to get conversations. And for me, finding conversations with interesting people that might have nothing to do what comes next in my career or in my life, but just being interested to be interesting is sometimes helpful for me. Yes,
and what you just shared, actually, I believe psychologists call it positive distraction.
Oh, that's a good title.
Positive distraction.
That's a good
Focusing on things you enjoy, doing the things that are fun, and distracting from you, rather than sitting, must figure this out now, figure this out now. Doesn't work.
No, it's not as easy as saying, okay, today I'm doing something new, or today sometimes you do need to just get out of your own way and go do it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much.
Thank you,
Lisa. This has been fantastic conversation. I could not have imagine a much more wonderful conversation on a Wednesday morning in February
Nor
to warm
could
the
I.
hearts.
Yeah, this has been fantastic.
I'm glad to hear. I'm glad, and I hope you have enjoyed it as much as we have enjoyed this. I know I've had a lot of fun. And before getting here and preparing and being here, I've had a lot of fun. Thank you for sharing your perspectives, your stories, and your words of wisdom, your toolkit with us.
Thank you.
Because you have shared a lot, and sounds like you have a lot in your toolkit and that you use often. So good for you.
Thank you to you.
Thanks as well. And again, to remind you that love hearing from you. You can reach me through my personal email, floria@recognizeyourpotential.com. As well, love hearing from you on social media. Connect with me, YouTube or Spotify, whatever works for you. Love hearing from you. And also, did you know that I'm on IGTV as well? So, new platform for me. If you're not getting my daily quotations, please go to my website, www.recognizeyourpotential.com. Subscribe so that you can get a shot in the arm every day. Just a quick tip reminder. In closing, thanks so much for joining Lisa Weatherhead, a leader in health and charitable not-for-profit sector within Nova Scotia. And you can also connect with her through me as well if you are interested for any more information. And have a marvelous Monday or a wonderful Wednesday. Thank you so much. Thank you.